Hello, everyone. This is Tim, and this is going to be a sort of recap, I guess, of the event that I went to last night. My gaming club, Gaming Association of Southwestern Pennsylvania, was asked to run some games for the Carnegie Science Center in Pittsburgh, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. I was told that I was going to be running RPGs for whoever showed up, so I wanted to do something that was flexible, any sort of genre that the players wanted to try to play with, interact with, get into. And so yeah, I was like, well, I've done a couple like dice only, one shots on my channel here or improv sort of games, so I had a little bit of experience with that. So that's what I decided to do. I just brought some dice, some blank pieces of paper, some pens, pencils, and I just brought a few examples of different types of games, and I just laid them out on the table and like around the base of this uh, like the where the entrance was there. So when people came in, they saw like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and basic role playing, and I just had a bunch of examples out there. So that would sort of bring people in, I guess. So we were in this little sort of like enclosed room. People were sort of walking in and out the whole time. So we were on the third floor of the Science Center, so there was a lot of different things that they could do and interact with. I think Rivers Casino was there as well, with some like slot machines, and the whole idea of the night was like gaming and the science of gaming. So it was really neat. I didn't actually get to do anything else. I was a little bit late getting there because I had to deal with my wife's car was acting up, so I had to like drive to work and follow her home and take her to the shop and bring her home. So I was rushing around like crazy. But I had my trusty like milk crate full of example games and just dice and things. Sorry, my voice is a little hoarse again because it was just getting better. Than I just beat the hell out of it last night, just role playing like crazy. But so I showed up, set this all up on the table, and luckily I wasn't the only one running games. There was one other GM that showed up, and he played. Everybody is John, I think was the name of the game. I don't know much about it. I didn't actually get a chance to really listen to what was happening at the other table because I was just running stuff really the entire time. It was pretty wild. I didn't sit down at all. I had like a long rectangular table with 8 chairs, and I think let me see, I ran roughly 4 different scenarios in what was that, a 4 hour time slot. So they were roughly about an hour each. Uh, there was a little bit of time between some of the games, depending on who was walking in. If anybody wanted to sit down and play, and it was interesting. I actually got a lot of people who used to role play. They were walking in and getting so excited that they saw Star Wars D6 and like I haven't seen that game in like 15 years. That's amazing. Or someone saw the Lord of the Rings adventure game. So I had a little bit of just talking and reminiscing about role playing games, and which was interesting because a lot of those people didn't really want to play. They, I guess, um, because of the event, like there was a lot of stuff to do. They didn't really want to get bogged down in playing a role playing game for a lot of that time. So they wanted to kind of buzz around and check all the other events out. So most of the people that sat down and played had either played like maybe once or had never played at all. So it was a lot of fun to get people fired up and excited about role playing who had never done it before. And going back to being flexible. So the first group that sat down, I asked what kind of genres of movies, books, TV shows they were into, and I went around the table and they all threw out different stuff. Like this guy was into fantasy. This guy loved the Warhammer universe. Um, another one liked modern day stuff. And I was just jotting this all down in this notebook, and I'm looking at it like, how on earth am I going to try to run something that is going to be appealing to everyone here at the table? So the idea that I came up with is that they were in this it was like a shuttle, space ship that was traveling off the middle of nowhere. And it was going to be a mining operation, and they were all in these vats of like gooey liquid with like wires all jammed into their eyes and their mouth and their face and arms and stuff. And they were in this like virtual reality sort of holodeck situation to keep their brains active, to keep their bodies stimulated, that sort of thing. So it was just like the scene would shift. So I went through all the different genres that they wanted to try to, have in the game, and it was a lot of fun having them try to interact with the space that they were sort of trapped in, and how it would change and morph depending on what they believed or what they thought. So that was a lot of fun. I'm not sure they really knew what to expect when they sat down, but all of them were laughing, and they sort of picked up on the idea pretty quickly that if they believed something, or if they were looking for something in particular, that thing would appear. So that was a blast. At one point, there was one of the characters wanted to be the the representative. That's not the right word. The big boy character. So they turned to basically like the big boy character. There was a lot of different. One guy wanted to be a shark at one point. Some people had different like appendages on the ends of their hands. So yeah, that was cool. The next thing that we ran, 4 gorgeous black women showed up, and they wanted to play like a Law and Order episode. And that was awesome. They were a lot of fun. I had a blast running that for them. And one of them mentioned that they were. I was like, oh, how do you think that all these different characters? So one was a stripper, one was a detective, one was a bank robber, and one was a pilot. I said, so I was trying to think how I could get them all together and have this sort of murder happen that one of them was going to be accused of. So they were on a plane, and the plane was having problems, turbulence. They said that they were watching 50 Shades of Grey on a little monitor at the in front of them on the back of the chair, and it just kind of went from there. There was turbulence when the engines blew up. They eventually wrecked the plane. There were some dice rolls made by the pilot to see, how she could take care of the situation, or if the plane crashed. Well, she rolled like 2s and 3s, so one of the wings snapped off and it started like spiraling out of control, wrecked into the sea, and sort of like slid up and crash landed into the beach on an island. So they all got out, and they were the one lady was arrested. But on the plane itself, let me back up a little bit. The murder was the co-pilot. So it sort of involved everyone. The co-pilot was a friend of the pilot. This other guy showed up late, and he was like the cousin of the pilot, and he was a cowboy. It was. I had to be super flexible, which I'm glad that I've had some experience doing that before I tried to run this sort of these scenarios, I guess you call them, like short vignettes of ideas, because people were sort of coming and going, and at some point I think I was going to start to run the actual trial for the women there, and I guess it's like, what, well, we played for a while. I think they played for about an hour. They're like, okay, we're gonna go check out some other stuff. But that was awesome, and they were laughing and having a good old time with me. It was a little bit warm in the room, so I was just like sweating a little bit. So I wish I didn't sweat so much as a guy, but I do. I sweat like a pig. But man, I had such a good time with them. That was a blast. And they were all brand new to role playing, but they had so much enthusiasm. They really got into character. The pilot was acting out like holding on to the yoke and pushing buttons and things. The detective had a good time interacting with this like heavyset guy. He was like giving her a hard time about things, and she was just laughing. It was a blast. And let me try to think what else. Okay, and one of the final scenarios, maybe it was only 3. Maybe it was only 3 scenarios. Yeah, I think it was probably 3 scenarios that I ran then. The last one was a fantasy one because that's what everyone who kind of got together for the last one wanted to try to do. So one was a zombie, another one was an animated treasure chest. There was like an orc. There was this quiet, like elfin, elf mage, and just a bunch of different characters like that. One wanted to be like a werewolf guy, but I had only 20 minutes for them because the event was going to run out of time. That was the 10 o'clock is what it went to. So I said, okay, you're all in jail and you're all in stockades in jail. Try to get yourselves out. Try to talk to each other. And they had a fun. It was just 20 minutes of interaction. They got out of the stockades. There was a mystical barrier around the cell, so they had to try to break that. Dispel that sort of protective magic to keep them in their cell. The zombie's hand was ripped off at one point to try to get himself out, and they used that hand and a levitation spell for the mage to get the keys off the guard, and they got themselves out. That's right. One of the characters was playing a soul of a person trapped in the body of a dog. And that character had ran headfirst into the magical energy to try to get through, and he got shocked, and it smelled like burnt dog hair. So it was sort of zany, sort of silly, but it was a good time. They all snuck past the guard except for the animated treasure chest, and the zombie, who were both like chopped into pieces by the guard's axe. So everybody else got away scot-free. They broke out of jail. So it was basically a jailbreak, situation that they role played through. But I had a blast. I look forward to trying to do this again. When we think about anything in hindsight, I don't know if it could have gone any better. The only problems I think there was, um, it was actually a friend of a friend that showed up that bumped into me. That it was pretty amazing that I went down to Pittsburgh and I actually bumped into I think 3 people that knew me. So that was pretty wild. But he wanted to sit down, and he tends to be a little bit on the inappropriate side at times. And his character, he was a film. Uh, he's basically like a porn guy who was into like filming midgets. Like that was his character concept, and it kind of turned off a few people. Like they actually got up and walked away after he told them what his character concept was. So that was a little bit unfortunate. It was like, oh, well, sorry, well, okay. They were gone, and. So other than that little snafu, that really wasn't my fault. Like I asked what he wanted to play, and that's what he said, and they just walked off the table after that. Uh, so I basically kind of said, let's just try to, okay, you can be a director. How about that? So I tried to work and modify that character concept. But other than that, it went really well. I didn't know what to expect. This is the first time I've ever done anything like that. So basically, I was like demoing what role playing is in a very rules light, systemless sort of manner. As far as what dice I used, I thought I was going to have like a consistent dice mechanic at the beginning of the session, but really I just, like I said, I just used like a roll off mechanic. If 2 people wanted to do different things and they were contesting against each other, like a sort of contested action. Or I just had them roll a dice and they wanted to roll high to perform their action. So that's really all I did. And the other guy who was running games said that the way I did it seemed it was actually better than the way he was doing it, because even though, like, he had a system, and like everybody is John, I think was the name of the system. And he said it was tough because it's only like a 1-page RPG, so it's actually pretty rules light too. But he said he had to explain the rules, get their characters going, and then sometimes people would leave before actually they got a chance to play. Just sort of that's just how the nature of the beast is there. Like people are trying to interact with all kinds of different things at the science center, so we can't have too much time with them. So he said next year he's going to try to do something more like me, where it's just a bunch of scenarios that people can come up with, and we'll just improvise through them and see how it goes. But yeah, I had a great time. My voice is yet again a little bit hoarse, but But yeah, I would definitely do it again. So if anyone is watching this that got a chance to play in those games, thank you very much. I had a blast. You were all very good role players, and that kind of it just made me smile that people who didn't know how to do it could learn something and then apply it instantly. So, congrats to all my players for a job well done. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just repeating myself now. So, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to everybody later.